welcome back to Recovery Demystified. It's your friend Early. I'm so excited to have you here today. If you're in the struggle, if you're going through it, if you haven't found your place quite yet, I'm here for you. I'm coming back for you. You won't be left behind. I'm excited to have you here. If you're drinking a beer and listening to this, I love you. You're going to be all right. Whatever you're going through, it's going to be okay. Today, what I want to talk about is my February reading and podcast list for 2025. I made one of these for dry January, and guess what? People actually quit drinking and using drugs at any time of the year. It doesn't have to be dry January. And if you did dry January, you don't have to stop. If you don't want to, you can see what it's like to be sober or off drugs for 2 months or 3 months. It's your life. You are the scientist, you are the test subject, and you are in charge of your recovery. But I do invite you to explore these books and podcasts that have helped me personally in my recovery. The first one is Laura Cathcart Robbins. She has a podcast called The Only One in the Room and a book called Stash My Life in Hiding. I really love her because she is in addiction recovery, and she talks and speaks and writes a lot about how folks of color are vastly underrepresented in the recovery community. Like, her experience was getting into the quit lit genre and finding a bunch of books and then being like, oh, is quitting drinking like only for white women? Like, why can I not find information and memoirs and books by like women of color? And she's Black, so it was important for her to get her voice out there and tell her story and bring the message to people of color that, yes, recovery is for you too. So she sets a great example in that. That's why she wrote her book. She does like articles for, like, you'll see them in the Huffington Post and stuff like that regarding being a woman of color in recovery. And the concept of her podcast, The Only One in the Room, is, I believe it was like she went to a writers' conference, if I'm not wrong, and there was like 500 writers there, and she was the only Black woman. And she was like, damn, it's a feeling to be the only one in the room, you know, like, it's heavy. And so she made this podcast where she invites on guests and speaks to them about when they felt like they were the only one in the room and what that experience was like for them. And addiction is like a pretty common theme, but it does branch out into the broader world of like trauma and self-help and a lot of other different like self-care topics. And the only thing I don't like about her podcast is there is a lot of ads. Like, she is monetizing, so good for her on that. But personally, when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm like, dang, like when it's interrupted, like right in the middle for like 3 minutes of ads, I'm like, skip. And it's not the vibe for me. But that's, I mean, whatever. Skip the ads. It's not that big of a deal. And if that's the only bad thing I have to say about her podcast, it's because it's really good. Yeah, it's a wonderful podcast, and she has a very interesting perspective. And in that same vein, I am also interested in uplifting the voices of folks of color. So if you are a person of color in recovery or in addiction and you want to be interviewed on my podcast, I would love to have you, because I do want to show the world that addiction recovery is for everyone and representation is so important. So if that's a story you'd like to tell, please do send me an email, info@recoverydemystified.com, and I would love to have you on. The next podcast on my list is DharmapunxNYC. And this is by Josh Korda. He's also in addiction recovery. He's like an old punk. I actually first found the podcast. I forget what it was mentioned on a different podcast that I listened to a lot. And I looked it up and I saw the little thumbnail picture and he looked like exactly like my friend Mark. Like if Mark became a Buddhist pastor or something, you know what I mean? So I looked at it and I was just like, oh, like my heart was super warmed by seeing his face. Like his smile is just super authentic. And what I love about his podcast is that he goes through like the evolutionary reasons why humans have like a lot of the mental health, the like common mental health struggles that we have. And he goes through like the different parts of the brain that are affected during certain like things that will go on, and like the evolutionary reason of why we are the way we are today. And he brings like very good but relatable like neuroscience into it. Like it's not too heady, like it's not too hard to understand, but it's like just enough where you're like I've had so many aha moments listening to his podcast where I'm like, oh my God, like that is why I have this like particular mental health struggle in my life. And also personally, I don't care if like you never have to be spiritual. You never have to fucking accept God or any of that shit. Like your recovery belongs to you. Like you write your own story. For me, a huge part of my story has been learning about the practical forms of Buddhism. Like, of course, you can take Buddhism and like make it a religion and shave your head and wear a robe and go meditate in a cave for years or whatever. But there's also like a really practical form of Buddhism. Like the basic concepts are that like in life, suffering exists and it's because we want things to be different than they already are. And there's also a way out of the suffering by just like learning about the tenets of Buddhism and applying them in your life. And in my experience, the coping skills and the learning about the common nature of our human suffering has been hugely helpful in my recovery. It has been, I so much enjoy learning about like a more secular form of Buddhism. And I don't know, maybe it'll help you like check out this podcast. So basically it's like he will do part that is about evolution and neuroscience. He will connect it to the teachings of Buddhism. And then the second part is usually like a really sweet guided meditation. And he's just so gentle and so genuine and also in addiction recovery and a punk. So he like gets it, you know, if you want someone who has like a radical perspective on how twisted and fucked up the nature of the current world in our society is, and also like really healthy, gentle ways to guide yourself to be able to cope with the difficulties of life. He just nails it on this podcast. The only bad thing is sometimes it's like an in-person like live recording with a group and the sound quality isn't like ideal, but it's never kept me from listening to it. I have it every single time that it comes up in my podcast feed. I'm like, yes, you know, like I'm stoked to listen to it. The content is very, very good. So DharmapunxNYC, if you want to check that out. The next thing on my list, I have a classic recovery podcast called Recovery Happy Hour by Tricia Lewis. She hasn't made new episodes in a few years, but all of the old episodes are archived. And she's just a normal person in addiction recovery who started doing an interview-based podcast. So it's another one of those where you get to hear different people's experiences of their addiction, their story, their recovery, and sort of get like that brainstorming idea of like, oh, this person implemented this in their recovery, like maybe I can try that. And Tricia Lewis also has like a more like left-leaning egalitarian type of perspective. And actually, it's my understanding that that is what drove her out of podcasting. Like during, I believe the story is that like during the Black Lives Matter movement that she was like connecting human rights issues with addiction, which they 100% are. Like all of our experiences in our daily lives and the trauma that we inherit, the trauma that we experience, like everything is a factor in our mental health, in our chances of getting addiction, in our chances of recovering, in our ability to access healthcare, and just like the chronic stress that our body and our mind experiences day to day. Like mental health struggles connected to like micro and macro aggressions on a daily basis due to being a person of color is like, it has a huge effect on, like, it's all connected, you know? So basically Tricia Lewis started speaking up her mind about social justice issues, and people like threw her so much shade that she stopped podcasting. And at least that is what I remember my understanding is of why she stopped. And I find that to be like extremely sad. People are like, oh, we came here for recovery content. We didn't want to hear about your politics. And it's like, this is connected and it is important. And I hate that she was bullied out of podcasting by people being jerks and not understanding that we need to have space to have these different conversations and that it is all connected. So sorry, Tricia, that the podcasting ended for you. But it is great, y'all. She has like a lot of backlog episodes, so you can definitely binge on that interview-based format. And yeah, she's a gentle soul. She went through it pretty bad herself with her own addiction, so she knows what's up. The next one and the last one I have on my list is a really short little book called Rewired, A Bold New Approach to Addiction and Recovery by Erica Spiegelman. This one, I don't hear a lot of folks name dropping on any of like the recovery podcasts that I listen to very much, but it actually was like a super helpful book for me in early recovery because I fundamentally did not understand the concept of neuroplasticity when I was like deep in my addiction. I was like, am I destined to live a life of tragedy? Am I just a bad person? Am like I a fuck up at my core? Like why me? Like why can't I overcome this? And then when I learned what neuroplasticity was, which if you haven't heard of it, basically it's the concept that we can change our own brains over time. Like our brains are always growing and changing, and how we got to this point of having an addiction is neuroplasticity in itself, like our brain adapting to these changes in chemicals that we're feeding it, and that our brain with intention and repetition can also change to be healed over time. And when I learned about that, I was like, whoa, like, it's not me. Like, I'm not just bad. Like, I'm not just a fuck up, and it's not fate. My life wasn't destined to be a tragedy. And, like, change is possible. It's fucking science. And so her book is like, it's a small little read, and it's really approachably written. I love when smart people write books that anyone can read. Like, there's a place for those like super technical, sciencey books that like hardly anyone can understand. Like those are important too. But I think it's really important to get that comprehension level to where the person who's strung out or drunk all the time, like to where that person can digest that information. Like at that point is when it is like life-saving content. So I love her book for that. I also love it because it's super empowering. It's like it gives you the keys to your own destiny, and it's like you can change, you are in charge, you can do it. And she also has like a lot of like journaling questions, like just a bunch of stuff you can ask yourself and vibe off of and write on and work through mentally. And yeah, it's just like, it's a short little read. It's a good book. And it is like, it's a pretty good introduction to the concept that you can rewrite your own brain and you can change your neural pathways. And with consistency and time, that you can get your darn self better. You don't have to be stuck like this forever. Like, you can do it. So that is the entirety of my February reading and podcast list. I hope you can check some of it out. With Recovery Demystified as a 501c3 nonprofit, one of our programs is a free book program. So if you are in financial hardship and you would like a book on addiction recovery, trauma, healing, self-help, anything in that category, go ahead and send me an email, info@recoverydemystified.com, and I will buy that book for you, because people of all income levels deserve access to life-saving resources. That being said, if you have a little bit of extra money and you want to contribute to the free book project, we have a Venmo and a PayPal. Both are at Recovery Demystified. Right now, everything's on a super shoestring budget, and we're working on some grant writing and trying to get some business sponsorships and whatnot. But every penny helps, and it will save lives. Like, putting money in the bank for folks to get access to to life-saving recovery resources, it's super important. So if you have a little bit extra, it's going to go straight to good use. There's no overhead costs whatsoever in running this nonprofit. Every penny is going straight towards helping people. And I guess with all that being said, thanks for listening today. May you be happy and free, dear listener. Recovery Demystified is produced and edited by me, Early Brunner. Stevie Petet made our logo. Our social media manager is Kaylee Bausch. Logan Bragg wrote our beautiful theme music. We are entirely supported by donations as a 501c3 nonprofit. Your tax-deductible donations can be made to our Venmo or to our PayPal at Recovery Demystified. May you be happy and free, dear listener.